According to the media, the globe is presently engaged in a heated fight for supremacy between competing superpowers, the United States and China. Is the United States declining? Is it genuinely a Chinese century if China approaches and maybe exceeds the level of the United States? Keep watching to get the answer. Hello everyone, greetings, and welcome back to the channel. The reason why China will never be a global superpower will be shown in today's video, so stay focused. The tape's story is much different. Strangely, China may not be a superpower after all. In certain areas, China and the United States are very competitive. China has a far greater population than the United States, over 4 times as many. Each possesses a comparable territory, enabling them to rule their continent. Both have large financial investments overseas, but the US has a worldwide military, whilst China has just one major foreign military presence in Djibouti. China is the only nation that is considered a near peer to the United States in terms of military power. They both have contemporary intercontinental, ballistic, and nuclear missiles. China's ascent has lately gotten a lot of attention as the Asian country established itself as a major regional force and began making movements outside of Asia. It maintains its claim to Taiwan as part of its territory, but has not taken any direct action against the island republic. Its artificial islands in the South China Sea have sparked a confrontation with neighbors such as Vietnam, and China usually wins these standoffs, since no one else in the area has the military power to oppose its fleet. Further afield, China's massive economic sector has significant influence over other nations, possibly cutting them off from vital supplies if they cross it. Their substantial investments in Africa suggest that the continent may become a reliable ally. All of this makes China seem to be a rising giant, but appearances may be misleading. China's growth was the buzz of the world in the early 21st century, and it was developing quickly. But since then, several variables have collided to halt the country's progress. The first, and perhaps most serious, the threat is a burgeoning population time bomb. While China is still the world's most populous nation, it is predicted to lose that distinction to India as early as 2023, owing partly to China's very low birth rate. It is due in part to China's lengthy one-child policy, which lasted decades and resulted in many couples producing just one male. As a result, China has a large gender gap, and many young Chinese males have been dubbed bare branches by the media. While the regulation has since been repealed, old traditions die hard, and Chinese families with several children remain uncommon. And as the population ages, this might lead to long-term issues. It is not the only time bomb for China's future. China's ascent has been mostly fueled by economic expansion, which became feasible when the Chinese Communist Party abandoned its rigorous Marxist adherence and transitioned to a state-run capitalist economy. The nation has amassed a large portion of the world's manufacturing, notably in technology, which has given it considerable clout. However, people are becoming more cautious about investing in China because of how their goods are manufactured, frequently by inmates with little to no safety safeguards. As the internet made it easier for news to circulate instantly throughout the globe, China's ability to retain its secrets grew more difficult. As a result, China's ace in the hole might turn into a pair of twos. Many corporations have relocated their manufacturing operations to other nations, with India, South Korea, Vietnam, and Taiwan all emerging as key manufacturing centers in recent decades. It is especially true for Taiwan, which today controls the bulk of the world's semiconductor manufacturing, and those tiny gadgets are critical to the operation of almost every contemporary electronic equipment. After almost a century of American supremacy, many believe China could eventually overtake the United States as the world's top superpower. Nonetheless, despite the waning of American imperial might and intent, future Chinese dominance is far from assured. China confronts several challenges, including geopolitical, ideological, and ethnic disputes emanating from its authoritarian government structure. According to historian Michael Mann, there are 4 sources of national power: intellectual, economic, military, and political. China has economic strength, albeit partly because it is home to more than 18% of the world's population. The United States is the only nation with higher economic production, yet China's per capita GDP is only around a fourth that of its competitor. Furthermore, the combined consequences of the one-child policy and economic modernization indicate that China's demographic edge would soon vanish. According to John Mearsheimer, a country must have indisputable authority over at least one area to be considered a superpower. China is not a regional superpower. Pakistan is China's sole important local ally. Japan, East Asia's second major economic actor, is a fierce adversary. South Korea will only ally with China if China continues to back North Korea. China's southern neighbor is the world's second most populated nation. Since the Sino-Indian War in 1962, ties between China and India have been tense, and China's friendly connections with Pakistan impede Sino-Indian collaboration. Many other nations in the area are American friends, including Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and Australia. Indonesia and Vietnam have a long history of anti-Chinese animosity. Furthermore, China has several territorial conflicts with its neighbors, including boundary disputes with India and disputes over the sovereignty of the Spratly Islands with Taiwan, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Some may consider Russia as a significant Chinese friend, but the two nations' relationship is largely defensive. They are united against their mutual adversary, the United States. Given the improved ties between the United States and Russia in recent years, that friendship may not remain. Is the Chinese military strong enough to overcome these constraints? No. The Chinese only have foreign military outposts in Cambodia, Djibouti, and Tajikistan. But the U.S. military is ubiquitous in China's neighborhood. The United States normally keeps 2 of its 11 contemporary aircraft carriers in the Eastern Pacific. China has 2 aircraft carriers, one of which is a 1980s Kuznetsov-class aircraft carrier. South Korea is now preparing a modern aircraft carrier, while Japan will have 2 over the next several years. Furthermore, China needs to have the ideological clout of the United States. China now is nationalist rather than universalist. Its nationalism competes with other nationalisms that are at least as potent in terms of internal ideological force as China's. Consider Korea and Vietnam. No young person of sound mind in Tokyo, Seoul, Taipei, or Singapore looks to the PRC for music to download, films to view, or ideas to grasp. As recent efforts to protect its political ideals have shown, the Chinese leadership has not even been able to transfer ideas to Taiwanese and Hong Kong Chinese. Some analysts have stated that China has lately earned soft power due to its successful coronavirus containment. Many have questioned China's effectiveness in battling the virus, and the notion of Chinese victory has received little worldwide acceptance. The UK paid 2 Chinese businesses $20 million for COVID tests that did not function, further undermining Chinese trust. China lacks a universalist narrative or an imperial goal. It promotes and claims to want to impose no value on the world, no overarching ideal that performs the function that democracy and human rights do for the United States and communism did for the Soviet Union. No nation has ever achieved superpower status just via raw force. Soft power is also required. China also lacks soft power inside the country. Because the nation is a one-party state, it lacks a genuine social compact. In China, ethnic minorities must be pacified via force, creating an inherently unstable scenario. As the persecution of Uyghurs in Xinjiang indicates, modern China is behaving like a Han Chinese nationalist state. Tibet is also ruled by China, with an iron grip. The persecution of the Uyghurs may alienate prospective Central Asian allies. Furthermore, although many Muslim nations have turned a blind eye to China's mistreatment of its Muslim people, public sentiment in such countries may prohibit them from collaborating with China. Furthermore, as Ming Pei has shown, Xi has monopolized authority and reduced the Politburo's influence. After Xi's death or fall from office, the CCP will confront a succession crisis. Thus, China's authority is vulnerable to many limits. Because the communist rule has limited attraction for most other countries, the country lacks powerful allies, is not a local hegemon, and has no soft power. The dictatorship is intrinsically unstable due to the concentration of power in a single strongman, its undemocratic structure, and the ethnic minorities' unhappiness. The administration is employing force to keep the nation together. But how long will this last? That's all we have for you today. Take a look at the reason why China will never be a global superpower. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see all future videos, subscribe to the channel and switch on notifications. First and foremost, what do you think about these countries, and how can you justify them more precisely? Please participate and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching.